for everything that we do today. Okay, cool. So why are you here is a good question. I have some ideas. I've got a little list of who I think might be attending this session today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat and also by just unmuting and speaking. But perhaps you're someone who wants to know more about how spreadsheets work. Maybe you heard the title, A Love Letter to Spreadsheets, and you hate spreadsheets and you want to see the absolute monster who loves them. Here I am. And perhaps maybe you know a little bit about spreadsheets and you think that with the right skills, you could get the data collection that you really want, but you just need some of those skills and some of those ideas. All right. And I've got something in the chat from Anna. I want to know more about how to use spreadsheets in the classroom. Great. We're going to talk a little bit about how data collection and discussion of data is helpful for students. So maybe that's something that might be of interest to you. And also we can set up templates and things for our students to use. I also am teaching tomorrow about spreadsheet functions, and I have a couple of things that I have used with my students before in that one as well. So I've got lots of ideas. We also have a sandbox session built into this training today. So if I don't catch the thing that you want, please catch me then and let me walk you through the process of how I create some of the stuff that I create. Any others, if you do have the reason why you're here, if it's not covered in this little set of bullet points, please do drop that in the chat. Okay, and I'll be glad to hear about that. Let's see. So Hayward. All right, so working in adult ed. Cool. And then we're sorting student names, data, contact info. That stuff's going to be great to start off with. Where can we take it so that it's actually easier to sift through all that data? Because large numbers of data points in a spreadsheet, that's kind of what makes them overwhelming for a lot of people. So I'm hoping that I have something for you there as well. Okay. And continue if you want to write a comment in the chat. Unmute yourself and say something. You can continue to write that. I'm keeping my chat open so I can talk to you all and continue to interact with you while I'm presenting here. But let's talk about data. What on earth isn't data anyway? So data is coming out of your students every single day from the moment they walk into your classroom to the moment they leave. Some of it we don't get to pick up until after they leave. But, you know, things like when you say to your students, hey, today we're going to take some Cornell notes, and 7 of your students go, that's data. It's a number. It's a thing that we can talk about and think about, right? If you tell your students 1 minute into class to take out their pencils, and 5 minutes later, 12 of them have pencils out, and 10 minutes later, 8 of them are looking at the floor in case someone dropped a pencil by chance, and then 10 minutes before the bell, you go up to one student and say, where your pencil? And they look at you and they say, my what? That's data. So while your district offices and the state of California are constantly looking for new data, different data, better data, the problem for classroom teachers and people who work directly with students is not that there isn't enough data, but there's actually too much data. And we're not sometimes sure what we need to focus on and how do we collect the data that we want. So that's what this session is about in a big way. We are going to start by getting some data. Now I'm going to drop this into the chat as well, but I have a QR code if you have your smartphones with you, or a tiny URL link right there that is going to take you to a Google Sheet. And excuse me, I'm going all over the place. And I'd like you to fill that out real quick. I'm going to take about 2 minutes. So there's 125, about 127 will come back. If you don't mind, keep that tab open because we're going to come back to it a couple of times. It's really short. So let's just collect some data.
Hey, Stefan, when I click on the link, it keeps taking me to the sign-in sheet.
Does it now?
Yeah, but I know someone else said that, so I don't know.
I'm so sorry. That should not be. That is the wrong link. I've done it again. Okay. It should be this one, bit.ly/EMP2024. That should be the correct one. I'm sorry about that, everybody. I'll let Jen know that multiple sign-ins are my fault on this session. We'll make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm gonna reset the timer. So the link above that says bit.ly/EMP2024, you can check it against what's in the slides right now. That's what I would like you to open up. And it should look like this right here. It says, tell me about your feelings. And then we'll be back. We'll be ready to continue in about, let's say, a minute more. All right. So if you're able to do that, please do keep that tab open. And when you see this screen again, we're going to come back to it a couple of times. Okay. Okay. Yes, please do submit, Megan. Thank you for that clarifying question. Let's say about 30 seconds more. The written text part is actually optional, totally optional. We can use any data that we get without that if you don't have anything to say. Okay. And we're moving on in the next 10 seconds in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So another question, what do I mean by data? Let's make sure we're on the same page on our definitions. If you are an English teacher, you can recognize that I cited my sources. So this is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary and their definition of data. One of their several definitions of data, to be honest, is this is the one that I found to be relevant to what we're discussing. Information output by a sensing device or organ that includes both useful and irrelevant or redundant information and must be processed to be meaningful. So I like that this definition includes redundant and irrelevant information in the definition because you will always have more information than you want. And the big question here is what is relevant, what is irrelevant or redundant, and how do we make that thing meaningful? And you will not find the answer to the questions in this training because I wouldn't dream of taking that ability away from you, because as the classroom teacher or the administrator or the office worker who's collecting this data, you have to some degree the right to choose what is relevant and to highlight what is relevant when you're collecting data. So it's kind of your own personal philosophy, and we need lots of voices looking at the data, pulling from the data in the way that they feel is relevant and bringing that conversation to the table. So that's kind of what I hope you'll take away. But I also hope that I can equip you with the tools for what you need to do when you figure out what data you want to collect. So specifically, though, we're talking about spreadsheets and how do spreadsheets do that for us? Well, we can filter and remove irrelevant data or data that repeats itself. We can create graphs and charts and visuals for our data very quickly and easily using spreadsheets. We can add functions that'll do calculations for us so we don't have to worry about math mistakes and all of that stuff. And we can also reject data that doesn't fall within the parameters that we're collecting using data validation and a couple of other tricks that we'll hopefully get a chance to talk about. So if I were to go into everything that spreadsheets could do, this would probably be like a 3-hour-long session, and it would be comprised of just me and whoever else in here would be excited about talking about spreadsheets for 3 hours. So maybe just me. So I've shortened this to the things that I think will be most relevant to us today. A couple of definitions, though, going into it, you'll see these 3 types of spreadsheets in your life. If you get, sometimes when we get data from the office or from another district, it's in Microsoft Excel format. I don't know about you, but the secretaries at my site love Excel, and we just have to convert them into Google Sheets when we get them. We use Google Sheets as teachers most often because that's part of our suite. There's also that cloud-based editing. You can invite collaborators in, that cloud-based save situation. All of those things, in my opinion, make Google Sheets the superior app to use for spreadsheets. And a lot of the things we're going to learn today are the same in Excel as in Google Sheets. And for the slight differences, you can also Google really quickly, how do I do this in Excel as opposed to Google Sheets? And you'll find it right away. There's a lot of great and easy to follow information on the internet about some of the little tiny things here. Another type of file that you should know about are CSV files. And you'll notice this if you're on ed tech sites, like for example, Edpuzzle, Formative, even Google Classroom and Synergy, you can download CSV files of the data you're looking for. And a CSV file is a spreadsheet. If you open a CSV file in Google Sheets, it will be a Google Sheets spreadsheet. If you open a CSV file in Microsoft Excel, it will be a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. You don't have to do any work to convert it. It'll just open that way. So whenever you see CSV download in an app or a website that's hosting your data and information, the universe has given you another spreadsheet. So exciting things with those CSV files. Just another way of saying spreadsheet. So why don't we like spreadsheets, though? I do feel that people have a certain visceral reaction to spreadsheets. I told my sister the other day I was going to teach a 2-hour class on spreadsheets, actually 3 2-hour classes on spreadsheets, and she said, "Wow, that sounds awful." She also works in education. What are your criticisms? What are the things that keep you or hold you back from diving deep with spreadsheets if you're someone who's reluctant? Give me a couple ideas in the chat. Unmute yourself. What is it we don't like? Formulas. All right. Forgetting how to apply formulas. Okay. I think the formulas can do a lot of good for us, but sometimes the format's a little tricky to remember. Okay. Formulas. Huh. Interesting. I am teaching a class specifically on formulas tomorrow. I will go into a couple of simple ones today. Multiple rows. Okay. Information overload, right? Every time I set edit a cell, format is all off. Okay, so formatting, cool. We're actually going to talk about that in a little bit. Any others? Any other thoughts? I'll leave that for another 20, 30 seconds. Okay, all right. There's a learning curve to make them aesthetically pleasing. True. Errors, not intuitive. Yeah, that's maybe something that only practice and experience can build, but I think I can solve a few of these problems as far as information overload, formatting, all of that sort of stuff. So, and I really love to, this is where I can have you guys be a part of this learning experience and jump in with me. If you got those slides open, I would love for you to format with me. I'm going to show you a spreadsheet. And when you click the link that says format, it's going to give you a spreadsheet and it looks like this. So this is actual data from my classroom. However, the names have been changed and ID numbers and all of that removed so that it's something we can play around with. What this is the STEM course that I teach has 16 different subjects, and every 6 weeks we rotate and every single student in the class gets placed at a different subject. And I have to move their seat because all the equipment is in different parts of the room. So I have to rearrange my seating arrangements every 6 weeks for all of my classes. It's a nightmare. The only way I can do this with any kind of understanding of like getting the students to the place where they want to be, where I've actually considered their opinions, is using these spreadsheets. So I'm going to do a couple of things here today that I would love to have you follow along with me, but I am going to go fast because I want you to see how fast this can be done. If you want to go back and re-watch what I've done here today, in addition to the video we're recording today, each one of those hyperlinks where it says resizing the font, freezing the rows, alternating colors, adding filters, conditional formatting, data validation, those are all screencasts. So you can watch me do it much slower on the video if you want to practice this and I go too fast for you. But let's do this real quick. So let's see. The first thing I want to do is resize the font. I'm going to click in the top corner. And when I do that, I've selected everything that's there. I'm going to bump the text up and look at all the text got bigger. Great. I want the top row to be bolded. I like that. I'm going to go into the insert menu. Into the view menu, click freeze. And then I'm going to click one row. So now this row, when I scroll up and down, it doesn't move. I also don't want the names to move because when I scroll left and right, I want to remember which student I'm talking about. So I'm going to shift click columns 1 through 3. And also in view, I'm going to go to freeze. and it says up to column C. Now, the reason why it says up to column C, which happens to be exactly where I want it to be, is because I highlighted it before I went into the freeze. So there we go. And now when I scroll, the names stay, and I can analyze row by row. I love that. Let's make the colors easier to stand out. I'm going back to the top corner. I'm going to click the corner, and I'm going to go Format, Alternating Colors. And that gives me a menu here. This is all customizable. I could change the colors to be whatever I want, or I could go with some of these preset ones. Let's do a real SUHSD style blue here, and then a really light blue right there. And then even if I wanted, I could do like blue and yellow, if that makes it easier for me to see. I think I like blue and white though, so I'm gonna leave it there. And then I press done. So that's already looking a lot easier to read. I can vertically follow with my eyes and make sure that I'm not looking at the wrong data point for the wrong student, right? If I want all of these on the right-hand side to be a different size, to be longer, I can click on all of them and shift click. And then when I resize one of these, they all get resized to the same size. So that's, wait, do I have them all selected? Hold on, I do not have them all selected. Let me do that again. There we go. And when I resize this, notice they're different sizes. Now they're all the same size. So that helps me to read things a little bit better. And while they're still selected, I can make it a little bit longer there. Okay, cool. And then I can also make this smaller. If I need to read my titles because the titles cut off, like on column D, the title cuts off, I'm going to select number 1. And then I'm going to go into this menu right here, right next to text rotation and vertical align right in the top. And I'm going to do text wrapping. So that gives me all the text at the top if I need to be able to read that. But if I don't need to be able to read that, if I remember what it says, I can go to clip mode, and then it stays one single line and all the extra letters just kind of disappear. But they're still there. I can get them back if I need them. So all these formatting things, I went from let's go to, I'm gonna make another copy of this, and I just want to show you the difference between the two, how much easier it is to read that. All right, so here's the old one, and it's just the data, right? The raw data. And then here's the new one. I can scroll left to right without losing my info. I can scroll up to down without losing my info. And then I can find all the information that I need. So that helped me a lot. Let's do something called conditional formatting. And I want this to be just a simple version of this, but I could definitely go deeper with it, right? I want to know how many students, I want to just to get a visual picture of how many students want to do robotics. So I'm going to click where it says robotics, and I'm going to do a 2-finger tap to open the menu. I'm going to make sure that I've got the right thing on there. Yeah, 2-finger tap, open the menu, and we're going into more cell actions, and we're going into conditional formatting. Conditional formatting. So based on the conditions that I give it, it'll change the color. I think this green is fine. And I'm going to select under the formatting rules, text is exactly. And I'm going to write the word that I have highlighted there, robotics. And then I'm going to press done. Okay, now let's see if that worked. We're going to go over here. Interesting. Why did that not work? Oh, I know what I need to do. Let me go back a second. So I'm going to go back to the conditional formatting. I'm going to edit this. I want it to be A1 through, this is the range that I'm looking at, A through I. Let's just go I all the way down to the bottom. So A1, and in order to go from start point to end point, I need a colon. A1 through I. Now that I've changed my range, we're going to see every single robotics turn green if I did this right. Okay, there we go. All right, looking through, every single person that says robotics is now green. And I can see at a visual which students are really interested in robotics. Maybe I've got a robotics summit coming up, and I want to make sure that the kids who really want to learn about it can register and go to this adventure. And so I just need that there. That's cool. What if I just want, and I'm going to go into a formula here. what if I just want to know how many students are interested in robotics? I need to report that information. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see the box a little bit. I'm going to use a formula, and this formula is called a count if formula. So I'm going to put it, actually, I'm going to put it at the end so that I don't get confused. How many students like robotics? I'm going to just do that, and I'm going to make this wide enough that we can kind of see, okay, how many students like robotics. For this one, I'm going to start entering the formula. The formula starts with equals. I'm going to start writing, whoops, count, if I can spell, count if. Okay, the wizard comes up. Count if, I'm going to click on count if. I need a range, just like before, A1, colon. I'm going to go all through everything in I, just to be safe. And then for my criterion, I'm going to put in quotations. All of the text needs to be in quotations, robotics. And then I'm going to end the quotations and end the parentheses. And when I press enter, the number 12 shows up. So I've counted how many students like robotics. As a matter of fact, I could easily do it with therapeutic services as well. So how about this? Don't make yourself do too much extra work, right? I'm going to take this formula. Notice this. When I click in the box, it doesn't say the number 12. If I click the box above, right in this function area up here, it says the text that I entered. But when I click this box, it doesn't say the number 12. It says the formula I made. So I'm going to copy, Control C, Control V. Now, it still says robotics. However, if I just highlight this and I type therapeutic, I'm going to make sure I spell therapeutic right. I should have picked a different one. Services. And then let's just make sure, I'm going to double check my spelling. Yes, therapeutic always gets me. I'm going to press enter. 7 students are interested in therapeutic services. As a matter of fact, instead of therapeutic services, let's see if I can do this even better. I know that in I-28 right here, it says therapeutic services. So what if I put, instead of therapeutic services, I just put, let's hope that this works, I-28. Absolutely. Look at the purple box that's highlighted where it says therapeutic services. It's looking at I-28 and it sees that the word therapeutic services show up when I press enter, number 7. So instead of typing out therapeutic services, I can just indicate one of the cells or boxes that has that text in it, and it will automatically grab that and go looking for it. If there's a lot of other cool formulas like that you can utilize. This is not going to go too deep into formulas. Like I said, we're going to talk about formulas and types of formulas in my class tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. If you have some time and space, you can come out. I would love to see you there. But yeah, that is one of the many ways that you can use spreadsheet formulas to find things faster, and you can use formatting to create something that's not so hard to look at. Because I agree, when it comes to all these spreadsheets, sometimes the information overload is just way too much. And I'm working with a really small window right now because I'm on a single PC. Let me just open this up a little bit. Another thing you can do, let me just come over here. Maybe I need to keep J because that's where my counts are. Maybe I don't want all of these other columns, or even worse, look at how many rows I have. I've got 128 rows. Well, let me hide them. I'm going to select row 29. You could follow along with me. Press Control Shift and then the down button. When I press Control Shift and the down button, I've selected all of these rows below the last one I need. 2-finger tap. I'm going to click Hide. Now the spreadsheet stops when the text stops. Now, if you have a live spreadsheet where you're actively collecting data on it, you're probably not going to want to do this because some of your data will go below the area that's hidden. See, and that's going to be a problem. But if you're looking at data after the fact, sometimes doing this can help other people look at your spreadsheet without getting trouble, feeling that stress, you know? So Hayward, you have a question. How can you input titles in row 1 but have the rest of the rows start at 1? I'm not sure if I understand that question. If there's another way you could phrase it, or
Hi, hello everyone. One of the things that makes me crazy is I keep track of how many students I have because we have open entry exit. And so I wanted to see at a glance how many students I have. I know it's only one, but it just always has bugged me. It's like, oh, I go, oh, I have 38 students. Oh no, I have to subtract one. It's 37.
Oh, because the
Why do
student.
they do that? And I've
Oh,
read there's
okay,
a
okay. I see what you're
so
saying. So,
on here, yeah, on instead of where it starts at 2,
so you're counting the row.
and we just have it start at 1, which
Yeah. Well, that's probably a Google question.
okay.
I'm not sure if I can think of an easy solution for that, but oh yeah, Jeannie had a really good idea. Add a column with numbers. Let's see if we can do that. If I add a column to the left and count, and then we could say if I start at 1 and then all right, I'm gonna do this equals A2 plus 1. Yes. I'm gonna press enter. That get whoops, that's not right. Hold on a second. Sometimes it interprets numbers in a funny way. So I'm gonna make sure that we have the format and change it to number plain text. All right, cool. And now check this out. I'm going to copy. Actually, I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to make sure that, oh yeah, no, we're right. Okay, so I can actually copy this all the way down all the rows. I'm going to take a Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. I would be sporting the district mandated computer, but my microphone does not work on Google Meets for some reason. Command Shift down like I did before, and then I'm going to do a 2-finger tap, and I'm going to do paste special. One of the options in spreadsheets is formula only. So rather than pasting the number, it's going to paste the formula, and that gives us numbers. And those numbers are from 1 to however many rows we have, 27. And it doesn't include the number 1. If you look to the right, you've got 1 and 2, 2 and 3. So if you do that, you can focus on the numbers that are there.
Okay, here's the stuff. So, and if you resort the page, like let's say you resort by last name, are those counts going to stay the same?
Well, let's find out. Let's see. I'm coming up with this off the top of my head.
I get it. I
Give me
know. I
suggestions. We're gonna see
appreciate
what
that.
happens.
It's not easy to do.
It does.
Well, amazing.
That is cool because the formula is automatically calculating based on the number 1, right?
Uh-huh.
So let's just make sure that I'm still correct. Oh, this one didn't. We got messed up here. Okay, expects value 1. Wheel.
Well, I don't want
I
to
put the number 1 up here.
It's a minor.
Solve it. Oh, and then that one is, yeah, okay. So you need to select more than one column or do so by column D and then A, right? I'm not sure. We might be getting a little into the weeds with
Yeah,
that.
just with
Continue
this,
to try and figure this out during our sandbox time.
Sure.
But let's come back into it a little bit. And I want to talk about some of the other things that we can do and some of the other interesting ways that collecting data can be important and that spreadsheets can also be a help to you because there's more than just this. It's more than just, yeah, there's a lot. Jeannie, I want to come back to that comment at the end of maybe in sandbox time. We can look at that. I think you probably have the solution. I know you work with a lot of spreadsheets. So I would love to have you share that a bit later. Yeah, so let's take a little break from talking about data and let's talk about data. Once again, I would love to have you fill out the form. So if you've already filled it out, you can fill it out again by clicking the link to say, fill this out again. And this time you're going to mention that it's the second time you're filling it out. And let me know how you're doing. Okay, and I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes. All right, let's take another minute. Okay, and I'm letting you know, just there will be at least one more time that we're going to collect this data. So please do keep that tab open. And 30 seconds more. Okay, and in 15, back in the chat in 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Now I have a whole section of slides of cool spreadsheets that I've made over the years, but I wanted to stop in the sort of towards the last maybe 1/3 of this presentation here today before we get into sandbox time and show you at least one of the things that I've come up with so that I can show it off. And if you are on slide number 15, you can click and see this, and you can make a copy of it for yourself if you want to try using some of that. This is a way that I keep my students on task. Now, it's especially an issue in my CTE course where students do long projects over several weeks, that I need to keep them motivated to see how they're making their goals happen. And so for me, I needed a way to just track, did they do the assignment or not, and be able to share how we're doing. So this is how I decided to do it. Let me go over to where it says period 1. So this is dummy data. Once again, I have, for every single unit that we have, there's very specific stopping points. We call them days: day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. There's a checkpoint test. There's a narrative writing, so an essay writing. And when a student turns it in, I'm walking around the classroom. I've got my my Chromebook on a cart, or sometimes I'm just holding it in my hand if I'm desperate to move around. And when I see, okay, today we need to have day 4 done. Mr. Gandalf, did you finish that test? I click the box. And if they have not finished it yet, I leave it unclicked. And then I have a formula down here. And if you have the copy that you're looking at, you could see in 11F, it's a %if function. And it's asking for if something's true. So if the box is checked, it's true. When I click, you can notice the percentage changes from 67% to 78% just by one person turning in that day 4. What I do with this as I'm going through and checking in with students as they work is, you're going to see this on my slide, I think it's 15, right? And I'm bringing that back up now. That's a picture of my whiteboard around the time that that I was building this spreadsheet back in Q3 of last year. And it says game day goal: 90% of students pass day 5 checkpoint test. And I see I've got a percentage for period 1, period 2, period 3. As soon as my assignments are updated, I have that number. I can just write it before I go home or when I get to school in the morning. And the benefit is the students can watch themselves improve. So we are sharing data, and it's all positive. The students get a little bit competitive with each other. I just put them all up there because I wanted them to be in the same place. But one time my period 3 was like, man, Mr. Elliott, what's going on with your period 2? I was like, I don't know. And then period 2 would leap ahead the next day. And then period 1 would be like, hey, we can't be in last place. You guys got to put it together. And I said, all right, well, tell your partner that, it's time to get game time going. Or one group will be 10% behind everybody else and be like, come on, I want to give you that benefit too. So the thing that I've learned this last year, plus mostly in the last year, to be honest, is that students like data too. But you have to just figure out how to make the data relevant to them or interesting to them. So tracking their own progress or checking their communal progress as a class is a fantastic way to do that. If you have your spreadsheet with different calculations on it, you can do it and redo it all the time. So I delete out the assignment information and re-add it back in for every unit. And we go and we start over. So it's something that I only have to make once. And as a matter of fact, I didn't write the students' names in the spreadsheet. I downloaded a Synergy report that had my students' names as an Excel file, or it might have been a CSV. Both options are available in Synergy, by the way. And then I put that in Google Sheets and I just deleted the columns I didn't need. So there's no reason for me to manually enter data if the data already exists somewhere. And like I said, most of our programs that we use that are hosting student data have that CSV download option. So yeah, it's reusable. That's kind of the best kind of spreadsheet, one that you don't have to keep remaking over and over again. Cool. So, and some of you may be wondering, why wouldn't I use the gradebook to do this? And as I mentioned before, not everything that you really want to track will be in the gradebook. Completion of assignment, as opposed to what grade they got on the assignment, was more what I wanted to track. And I found a way to do that while I was teaching. So that worked for me. It might not work for you. And not everything that I'm going to show you today is going to hit for what you're trying to do. But keep in mind that some of the skills that we're learning will transfer over to the other ways that you look at technology. And Google Classroom, apps like Edpuzzle, Informative, they pretty much are fancy spreadsheets. The way the architecture of the websites and how that they're hosting the student information functions in the exact same way as a spreadsheet. So sometimes you'll even see like filter options when you're looking at student scores, or sorting options, and you'll think to yourself, this is a spreadsheet. And to be honest, it really is. I said to Bobby Cannon one time, Bobby Cannon's our big data guy in Ed Services, that Synergy was a spreadsheet, and he laughed and he said, it's true. So I have it confirmed. It's not just me that thinks this. And Synergy as a spreadsheet is the clunkiest, biggest, slowest moving spreadsheet you ever knew. When I'm doing this on what I've got open in my classroom, it's not taking a lot of bandwidth. It's fast. I can update it quickly. I can open it quickly. If I have a parent come in and they want to know how their child is doing progress-wise, if you ever had a parent ambush you like that, I can bring up that form and just like look over and say, okay, here's what I know. So it's about speed in some ways, even though it's more time sometimes. And if that upset you a little bit, I do apologize, because we do sometimes get that idea that every new thing we learn just becomes a new task for us to do, more work, more data entry. And maybe you're feeling that tension that you're not going to have time in this school year to enter all this data. I would argue in some ways that you will save some time by being able to get to the information you need faster. And so it's valuable to learn about spreadsheets. And I will be your humble guide, not only today, but in the future, as you may have need to learn how to do different things. But also, just a reminder, the best way to enter lots of data is to get a bunch of other people to do it for you. And there is a reason why these are all stock image photos of children, because you can have the kids give you data and you can have them give it to you instantly. The integration of Google Forms allows students to also give you data. Speaking of which, last time, I swear, I'm going to have you go in one more time to that spreadsheet, to that Google form. Oops, excuse me, spoilers. That Google form, which is also a spreadsheet. I'm just going to see if I can link that one more time in the chat. And go ahead, if you're not already sick of me making you do this, go ahead and jump in and fill it out for a third time. And at this point, I'm going to give you another 2 minutes. Okay. Some of us are finished up. We'll take another minute.
Stephen, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So I've used Google Forms, I've created Google Forms and had used them like a survey and have students, fill stuff out. And then I know how it comes back as a spreadsheet. But what I've never done is have an existing spreadsheet with like certain columns and stuff in it with data I'm interested in, and then integrate the Google form my students are sending me so that it goes into the place in my existing spreadsheet that I want.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about how when you link an existing spreadsheet, I have done that before, but what the program will do is it will create a tab on that spreadsheet. So a brand new tab of unfiltered data that says form responses 1. So you won't be able to have your format and everything set up in that way. However, on your spreadsheet, you can, on your new tab, on your old tab, you can import that data referencing a tab that's called form responses 1, or you can change the name of that form, a tab on the spreadsheet, making it so that it comes in. Or actually, you could also make the form first and then create your spreadsheet and format it, and then you'd be able to do that. The only trick is that when you link a spreadsheet to a form to an existing spreadsheet, it makes a new tab for that data, which could be beneficial because you don't want the form to accidentally overwrite any of your data. So there's probably a workaround to make that work. And I definitely, when we go into sandbox time, I would gladly try and workshop that with you. But it is definitely possible to link to an existing spreadsheet, and with some working around, we could probably come up with a way for it to do that for you.
Okay, I'll ask you when you start sandbox time.
Cool. And you can also build the form, create the spreadsheet, and then do the formatting after the fact if you build the form first, and then it should be able to manage all of that. I have a spreadsheet I would love to show off. I don't know if will have time, but we were gathering form responses for a teacher-run lunch detention last year, and we found a way to get everything to come in in a certain way so that it was easy for us to figure out who was going to pick up who and drop off who where. And we had this whole thing going on. but something even complicated things like that are quite possible. So hopefully everyone's back at this point. Guess what? We've collected, let's see if I've got it. Yes, interesting. Oh, there we go. So we have got some data. Let me switch over to this tab right here. So for example, an easy and quick way to create a visual of this data would be to create a countif function for the 4 options that I gave. Great, doing okay, a little confused, and get me out of here. I'm going to just do this really quick and you can watch while I do it. Countif let's see, it's going to start from A2 it's going to go to, how many form responses did we get? We have, let's say 200. So I'm just going to get it there. See, count if, and our form goes from A2 to D, A2 colon to D200. And we are looking for, let me go back up to G so that I don't get confused what I'm trying to put here. We're looking for great. Well, actually, we are looking for the term that is in G3. And we are going to pop that in there. 117 people are doing great. Cool. Let's paste special. I already copied it. Formula only. And see, H3. Nobody's doing okay. Everyone's doing great. Let's do this again. For a little confused. Let's see, paste special, formula only. Nobody's a little confused. Interesting. Let me make sure I've got that right. Oh, you know what? I have my numbers off here. What I should do, I'm going to keep the range the same, and I do that with the dollar sign, believe it or not. So if it's $1, $2 to to $D, $200, then this will never change, but the G3 is going to change. So let's do that again. I'm going to copy this, paste special, formula only. Okay, paste special, formula only, and paste special, formula only. Okay, one person said, get me out of here. Fair enough. Yep, okay, so those formulas are correct. Now, if I wanted to take this and graph it, it would be really easy for me to just press Shift, create a little box here, and go insert chart. And that creates, sorry, my window is very small because I'm working on a very, not so small, but a very medium-sized computer. So this is essentially my graph of our data. Now, of course, if you were asking students during a classroom, you might get more varied response. I think some of you guys are just feeling polite, or you get to drink coffee at home, so you're in a good mood. But something like this, and I think I have a chart down here from when I did this at Spring Q last year. I think I saved that down here. Let me just double check. Oh yeah, okay. I also have like how many people responded first time, second time, third time, fourth time, and you can actually see the numbers of responses dwindling as time goes on. So these are ways that you can make data visual and create something with a Google form with data that you don't have to collect yourself, but you can process it and make it interesting and meaningful, and you can focus on the data that you care about, and then present it to someone who doesn't necessarily want to look at your spreadsheet. So let me come back to my presentation, and I am going to need to move myself forward, and we might skip a few of the spreadsheets and let you just explore that on your own during sandbox time, because it is getting to the point where we are close to the hour mark here, which is how long I wanted to talk to you all and give you plenty of time to work on your thing. But how do we use this? Well, a lot of us use Google Forms as part of our bell work. So if you're asking the right questions during bell work, the questions that has information you want to know, you can start tracking the data that you want to know about. And you use that time anyway. That's already something that's built into a lot of our classroom schedules, right? You can use a form like this, or with the specific questions you want to ask during group work or during long projects to figure out what are kids struggling with, what disagreements are happening in the class during the time that they're working. And then you can come back and look at it and figure out, what do you need to teach? What do you need to reteach? What are the behaviors that are coming up that you need to teach a new behavior for? Sometimes kids won't talk to you when you ask them what's going on, but if you let them write it and you make sure that they know that you're not going to say who said what, then they'll be honest with you and give you something that you can work with. I've had good results with that. As a matter of fact, I did something similar with my students as part of their bell work once a week in the last quarter of the year. I let them give me a grade, and then we went over the grade together. And that's part of my fourth box over here. Hey, make your data shareable with students. Find a way to let them see what are people saying. Graphs are a great way to do that, or just writing the data points that you found into a slideshow and talking to them about it and saying, hey, this is what this means. It's surprising to me that I can get middle school students into data, but if I skip or forget to share that, someone will ask me, hey, what are our stats? They'll say sometimes, because they like to play video games. You can actually set up a Google spreadsheet to notify you whenever there's a new response. And so in that way, you could make like kind of a digital version of that old classroom classic, the question box. And you could have it auto open using GoGuardian to have an auto open tab for the student question box. If a student has a random question for you that comes up, and they can just type it in, send it off, and maybe once a week you go through, or at the end of a class period, if you feel like that's a better frequency for you. And then there's a digital question box where students can contact you to let you know just stuff you need to know. So anyway, those are some of my ideas. Maybe if you have other ideas, drop them in the chat. These could be what you work on when we get into our sandbox time. All right. Oh, I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to end, because if you're already wondering, okay, look, I just don't want to do these extra tasks. Can spreadsheets help me do something faster and easier? And let me share this with you. Okay. Thumbs up in the chat if you have ever used any of these apps, Quizzes, Kahoot, Blooket, with your students. Okay, we've got a few of them. Quizzes is actually one that we have a premium license for, so it's a great one. With their data analytics are fantastic. And also, it's just nice to play a game sometimes, right? But the worst part about it, to be honest, to me, is making the quiz, making the game, because I have to come up with 20 different questions. I got to come up with correct and incorrect answers. Okay, how about we do this? Students make the questions. Here's an example of what my students did. You can click the link on the slides to get a look at it. This template was given to me. I downloaded it from Kahoot. Quizzes, Blooket, Gimkit, a lot of the other gamification apps that you're looking at, they have this too. You just need to figure out what their template is. You go to their website, you could download it. Students made a Google form, and I just copy and pasted this into the Kahoot quiz template. And I had to look through it, of course. I had to look for mean responses or poorly spelled or poorly written out responses. But a couple edits here and there. We're talking about 10 minutes of editing. And I have, let's see, 51 questions about my content. What the students are telling me, this is what I learned about this week, which is also data for me, because now I know what they know. I'm going to open up Kahoot so you can see how this actually works. In order to do it for this particular website, they ask you to download it as a Excel spreadsheet, which is no problem. We can do that in Google Sheets. However, some may ask you for CSV, and some may be okay with you just dropping a Google Sheet into their system. You just have to check and see what they say. So I'm actually logging into Kahoot right now. It's taking a second. I haven't logged in a few months. Here we go. Okay, and we're getting into it. Well, this is taking a while. My computer fan is going quite heavy right now, so this might take a second. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going into continue with Kahoot Basic. I'm a Kahoot Basic user. All right, I'm going to go into, here we go. Create new content. And I'm going to make a Kahoot. Now, create from scratch. All right, so check this out. When I'm going to make my question, let me just go off to the side here. Here we go. Add question. And it says import spreadsheet. Am I on the right? I just want to make sure I'm presenting the right part. Yeah. So at the bottom corner under add question, there is a link that says import spreadsheet, and select file. Now this needs to be a Google. Well, I'm gonna cancel this for a second. This needs to be a not a Google, but an Excel spreadsheet. But watch this. All I have to do, oops, not this one. All I have to do is go into the file menu, download Microsoft Excel. Okay. And now that that's been downloaded, you'll find it in your downloads folder, right? I'm coming back to the Kahoot. I'm going to select my file and I've got my template, and you open it up. You're going to see Kahoot quiz template XLSX. That's the folder. That's the file that I uploaded. I'm going to press upload. And it says 51 questions have been imported. Add questions. These are all 51 questions with the correct, incorrect question already set up for me. So now all I have to do is just delete that first one that doesn't have anything in it. And if I press save, I'll have to give a title. But if I press save, I have made a Kahoot in about 10 minutes. And it has 51 questions in it. So that works for all your gamification apps. You do need to get their template that's set up the way that you want it, that they want it to be. And you create a Google form that asks the questions in the order that the template wants to pick up the information. So I can share mine for Kahoot if you would like it during the sandbox time. And you can even start getting that ready for even the first week back at school. It's super fast and easy using spreadsheets. If you didn't know this, when you build a question into a website with a user interface like Kahoot or all of those other places, you're actually building a CSV file. That's what the app does for you. It builds a CSV file to recall your questions and answers when you play the game. So it makes sense that you can actually do the same thing backwards. Create a game using a CSV file that you already created. Okay, so I do want to take a quick break because it's been a while and I've been talking a while. So I want to say 5 minutes for bathroom breaks, just closing that screen time for a little bit. Be back here in 5 minutes and I'm going to show you what's available on my gallery. You can check it out on your own time. The rest of our time is going to be sandbox time, here to help. And I'll stay here during the break. So feel free to ask questions if you want. We're going to start. It's 2:25 right now, so please be back at 2:30.
Hi, Stefan.
Hi.
I had someone I wanted to talk to you about, but question, but also kind of an idea that I wanted to pitch you on.
Okay.
But is there like a side chat? Because I don't want to.
Well, you can direct message me. It might be I might be slow to respond a little bit, but you could send me an email or open up Gmail chat and just
That's okay. If you're not helping anybody else right now,
yeah.
And we both have the free time. I don't care if everybody else hears.
Okay. Yeah, and you might be explaining a situation that somebody else wants to know about or has a question about too.
Or maybe they'd be interested in. Okay, so you seem like just the right person to talk to about this, given your position and how you feel about data. And this is something I tried pitching back when Rob and Paul were both the district tech guys, and we had a couple meetings about this, and they sent the idea to the district, and the district said no. But I thought it was a good idea. But there's some changes between now and then in terms of funding. So there's a funding source available, I think, that might be able to be used to pay teachers to do this. So here's the idea.
Okay.
That basically the district create like a period position, kind of like yours as the tech person on campus, to do technology extracurriculars, say after school. And like the ed tech position, those people across the district would all have a collaborative function. So they like organize activities, and those activities could be, brought together and participated in district-wide events. For example, like little small robot contests or whatever you meant. Since it's being called technology extracurriculars, could be anything.
So like for students, you mean?
Yeah, for students.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a person on every campus who's kind of in charge of doing technology activities with students in extracurricular time, and all those people collaborate together. Because here's like I've done robot teams and stuff before. Like before I taught art, I was like a science teacher, and I've noticed schools do great things. Like our school participated last year in the first robotics competition, and I've had known students like do the mate competition, and there's all sorts of great activities to participate in. But what seems to happen is that there'll be a teacher will take an interest and then they'll lose time for it. It's real like unreliable
Yeah.
as to what's going to happen and where, and certainly not in an organized way where the whole district participates together.
You know, I would actually love to have you send me an email about that, because I have been I've been trying to secure some grant funding, but I'm still working on the proposal part of it for utilizing after school programs to teach kids coding, robotics, that kind of thing. It's very related to the class that I teach with my students. But I just think that every kid should know how to code, or at least have some experience with trying it, considering that there's $100,000 a year jobs available just an hour up the road that sometimes don't even require a college degree.
I know, right?
But I'm trying to build a network of schools that are doing that. Which site did you say you were at?
I'm the ceramics teacher at Salinas High.
You're the which teacher again?
Ceramics teacher.
Oh, ceramics. Okay, at Salinas High. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't have any contacts at the high school level yet, but yeah, I've been talking with. I see Elizabeth Cooper is in the chat. Hey, Cooper. We've been talking about this in the last year as well, just wanting to network some of those programs, just so that there's more visibility and more participation, because I think there's a lot of kids that would benefit from that. It is a little bit outside of the subject of what we're going to do here today, but definitely please do email me, and I'm going to start figuring out how we can pull some people together.
I'll just send you an email now, and then we'll just kind of be in each other's like email folders.
Yeah,
and,
sure. I appreciate that.
If you're interested in this, I have a theory about a possible funding source where the district wouldn't be paying any of their money.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear everything that you know and everything that you've proposed before, because I'm sort of new at this myself, but it's something that I think we definitely have a need for. Awesome. So I think we're probably all kind of getting back from that break time. I went a little long, and I do want to respect the amount of time that we've given you all to work on your own projects. So I'm just going to quickly show you what else is on these slides, and each of these spreadsheets has a clickable link so you can view it. You can make a copy of it to play with the data and the formulas. And then the rest of this time, I'm hoping that if you have questions for me or processes you want me to walk through with you, or just like a spreadsheet dream you want to make into a reality. I can't promise it'll happen in the next 45 minutes, but I would also love to keep some of you on my short contact list. Send me emails throughout the year. I am an ed tech, and it is my job to assist with technology. And if you ask your site ed tech a question about spreadsheets, most likely they will just email me anyway. So, cut out the middleman. So quick thought, here's some of the ways that that spreadsheets have been solving problems at my site for the last year. I made this, and all of this data, by the way, it's not student data. It is, with personal information removed and aliases, nicknames, all of that, no ID numbers. So this is safe to share and to play around with. I made this office discipline tracker for our main office. You can click through if that's something that interests you, to track when students are either out of uniform or they're sent to the office for one of various things. The main thing they were tracking is what types of uniform violations were they having, what consequences were given, how many times was that student referred. So we did all of that with formulas and formatting and conditional formatting, and it gave the team a lot of more ability to follow up with kids and also follow up with staff members if they weren't getting complete data from one person or another. They actually asked me, I created this 2 years ago. They asked me to create it for them again last year. They're probably going to ask me again this year. That's a cool one to look at. We have a tracker for adjunct duties. Teachers are reporting their adjunct duty through a Google form. That Google form collects the information, converts it into a minute analysis, and then sums all of those minutes together and converts those minutes into hours so that the hours add up automatically. And then I've got that conditional formatting that I showed with the green color to show where the teacher's at. So we have red for low numbers, and then it goes to yellow, then to green, and then blue if the teacher submits more hours than the required number of hours. Again, all the formulas, you'll be able to check that out, and you can make a copy for yourself if you want to play with it. It's all data that's not connected to any specific person. but you can see emails and things. I'm going to skip that one right there. I also collected a lot of raffle tickets through the digital citizenship program that I have running at La Paz. If you are working in student leadership or doing any kind of club stuff and you have to track lots of information, there's a really cool way to do that where you can keep account of things and a tally of things. I used a download of a report from our office about which teachers have homerooms, so I could count the number of students in each homeroom and subtract that from the total number of tickets turned in so I could get a percentage. And then I shared that percentage. Most teachers, when it comes to homeroom participation, they like percentage over numbers because, for example, PE teachers have gigantic homerooms and some classes have very specific specialized homerooms, only like 10 or 12 people. So percentage felt a little more fair. So we had to do those calculations. Check that out. If you have questions about it, please let me know. I think for this point in time, also, please do check out, I've got resources right here. These are previous trainings that I've done on spreadsheets. I also have one on Canva, which includes a thing about spreadsheets that you can do with Canva that's pretty cool. There's the documentation for Google Sheets where you can find all the different formulas that exist. How do I enter them? And what are the limitations, stipulations? And here are all of those, what's it called? Those screencasts that I made of how to do the tiny little tricks and formatting things. So all of this is here for you. And from now till 3:15, you have your time to make something great for your classrooms. If you need ideas, let me know. If you feel comfortable telling us what you're going to be working on in the chat, drop it in the chat because maybe somebody else wants to work on that too. And then any questions you have, please direct them my way. I'll be glad to help you make stuff happen.